afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for coming up on a Saturday morning, early afternoon. And among us today is a detective across centuries. John Guy is the curator of arts of South and Southeast Asia at the Metropolitan Museum of Art here in New York. Besides building collections and organizing blockbuster events, he acts as a detective across centuries. He says, I try to reconnect an object with its forgotten history, pointing out that sometimes all that remains of kingdoms and culture are a handful of coins, seals, and a few crumbling sculptures. He says, and it's a very, very thoughtful statement, we can read the past only on the basis of what has survived. So we should try and make sure we don't leave our cell phones behind. So he started his career as a deputy curator of the Indian and Southeast Asian Department at Victoria and Albert Museum in London, and curator of the Indian Department at the National Gallery of Victoria, Melbourne. Some of the major books he has written, Woven Cargoes, and it is a book on Indian textile. And there's another major book he has written, Indian Temple Sculptures. Besides that, he has been involved with two major exhibitions. One was at the Met in 2014, Lost Kingdom, Hidden Buddhist Sculptures of Southeast Asia. And then he's working on a major exhibition which should all support it. It's called Tree and Serpent, Buddhist Art of Early India. So, ladies and gentlemen, an authority in Indian art, my friend John Guy.
Thank you, Rajiv, and thank you for the invitation to be here. It's a very honour to be speaking amongst you. As we all know, we're totally dependent in this modern age on technology, and it has failed us this morning, so the PowerPoint may or may not come on stream at some point. So I'm left a little bit wing and a prayer, improvising, rather than taking you through a narrative. Which would,
should we put the laptop that way so people can...
This screen?
No, this one.
Oh, well, I
Actually,
guess
we can do this screen
yes,
too.
yes.
I think that screen would be
Yeah.
better.
It's a small enough space that we can just about get away with that.
Yes.
So let me talk a little while we're preparing about the artist who I will wager almost all of you have never heard of, and don't feel bad about that, because a series of major books have been written on 20th century modernism and contemporary art by some leading scholars in the field, starting with Parthamitta and moving into more recent publications, have failed to even mention her in their indexes. Now, there's a very particular reason for this, because Vaji Srimati was an artist, a young woman in Chennai in the 1940s, was trained in what's called them the four classical arts. She was trained as a classical dancer, as a classical singer, musician, veena and tambura, and as a painter. And the family history is a very interesting one. Her grandfather was the chief astrologer to the Maharaja of Mysore. This is where the YG honorific title comes from. The family grew up in, then moved, the next generation, her father settled in Bangalore, and she trained, had most of her education in Bangalore, trained there, took dance lessons, sharing the classes with a young dancer called Ram Gopal. And Ram Gopal was, many of you know the name of Uday Shankar, the great exponent of Indian art pre-war, before the Second World War in the West, and his engagement with Anna Pavlova, the Russian emigre companies and so on. Post-war, Ram Gopal mantled that role, based in London, and was a major propagator of classical Indian dance in Europe and the UK. It's like we're almost in luck. In the post-war years, Srimati and Gopal were students together in Bangalore. She then spent time in London in the 60s performing with him, which we'll come to in a minute. But the story goes back to the very beginning. It looks like we're going to actually have some success, maybe not. To give you a sense of her accomplishment, by the time she was in her late teens, she was requested on several occasions, but initially when Mahatma Gandhi came to Chennai to deliver independence rally speeches on the marina, she was specifically invited to come and sing the bhajans. And a great honour, of course, for someone who was only in her late teens, and she sang them in several Indian, South Asian languages in order to stress Gandhi's inclusiveness, his vision of an India which included people of all faiths and all religions and all languages. Very pointedly, the bhajans were sung in a variety of languages for this very specific reason. Were we to see the PowerPoint, you would see a photograph.
We see it on.
Can everybody see it?
Okay, this is wonderful. This is wonderful. So, in fact, I will move right to that point here. This is very homely, isn't it? It's a bit like having a small TV set in the bedroom. So, the young artist, maybe she's 19. We're not. Her birth year is slightly unclear from the family records. Here she is accompanying Mahatma Gandhi at the beginning of one of these speeches that he gave in 1946. As a young woman bound up in this time, the family home in Chennai, we know, was being used as a safe house for independence fighters, particularly from the north, who travelled down and sought refuge in Pondicherry, which was a relatively safe place away from the British. And that journey involved finding safe houses along the way. And their home in Chennai was used as a safe house as part of that. So they were deeply involved in the independence movement. They were involved as a family. She was rather the younger member, had an older brother who was mentored her very closely. Their father passed away when she was quite young, and so her elder brother became the notional head of the family, and deeply involved in the, dare I say it, anti-Hindi movement. There's a strong movement promoting the use of Tamil in the south, and this was all, there were family friends with the founder of the main journal that was the anti-Hindi movement journal, promoting Tamil, and so on. So you get a sense of how engaged they were with the leading figures of their day. She worked essentially at home. This is taken around 1950 in the family home in Egmore in Chennai. The instruments you see depicted there are the instruments which are now in the Met's collection. The way I discovered this artist was simply when she passed away in 2007, which was a year before I came to New York from London, so I never met her. Her widower lived in a very modest Upper West Side apartment, crowded with her artwork